Okay, and does that include the, would you like to add administrative business items to discuss the findings of fact for the Sojourn House as well as the BZA rules of procedure amendments? I can pull those up on the screen.
I would like to amend my motion to include those items.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to amend the agenda to add 2 items under administrative business, as well as the cases as advertised on a hearing for tonight's schedule. A vote in favor is a vote to approve the amended agenda. Guy Loftman,
Yes.
D. Owens.
Here's D. Can you speak, D?
Tech Services, do you know if,
I'm sure I'm interrupting, but I cannot hear
Oh, she
if
cannot.
anyone's talking. I keep hearing noise off and on, but nothing else.
Can you hear me, D? No. What do we do about that?
I'd like to just pause for a moment because this is a recording for the meeting. So if it's not able to be heard by the people on Zoom, then we will not have an audio recording. So
Yes.
Tech Services, do you know if it's an issue on D. Owens' side or is it an issue of the Zoom meeting? Okay. Would it be possible if you could help in the chat to see if she could test her speakers and audio? Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that. I'll go ahead and I'll skip D for now and move on to Margaret Clemens.
Yes.
Pamela Davidson.
Yes.
Okay, so just since that motion was made and seconded, we have approved the amended agenda to add the administrative items.
Since, well, I don't know exactly how we should proceed. Should we begin with the new business and then do administrative business at the end, or since we just approved the agenda?
You could do approval of the minutes and then if you'd like to move administrative business to the end, I guess we could re-vote on that
Okay.
agenda item.
Okay, I move that we first work on approval of the minutes, then the new business, and then administrative items for tonight's order of business.
Okay.
I can hear now.
You can hear now, Dee?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Great. Okay, so just to clean up and do some housekeeping, do you approve the introduction of evidence?
Yes,
Do you approve the agenda?
indeed.
I'd like to revoke my amendment and we'll just proceed as normal then, since D can be heard.
Okay.
Okay, does anybody need to revoke their second?
No, I just want to ask D. D, the approval of the agenda included administrative items.
Yes.
She may not have heard that.
Yes,
Yes. Did you approve that as well, D?
Administrative business?
Yes.
Indeed, yes.
Thank you.
okay. And so we move on now to the approval of minutes from the June 7th meeting. I frankly did not read those yet.
Frankly, I didn't read those. Did Davidson read them?
Shame, shame.
And I feel the same way about the June 28th minutes too, that I failed to read those.
Okay.
Can we delay?
I make a
passing-
motion that we delay approval of the minutes until the following BCA meeting, whenever that is.
I second that.
Okay.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to delay the approval of the minutes, so I don't think we actually need to take a vote if they're not being approved. We'll just carry those forward.
Okay, great. So now we move on to the administrative business. Dave?
We have prepared some draft findings for your consideration on the Sojourn.
I cannot hear whoever's speaking. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Dee. we have, the legal department has prepared some proposed findings.
Excuse me, I thought we were gonna put
We
the,
changed. Oh, we changed.
the administrative at the end, so we can.
We changed it, she said.
Well, okay, if, I'd like a little guidance from staff here. We did make have a discussion that I subsequently revoked. And I think it would be better for the public if we went ahead with the new business and, attended to administrative business at the end. Is, can you call the roll on that? Cause is there somebody who would like to second that motion?
Second,
But
Okay,
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to amend the agenda to have new business start first and then administrative business begin at the end of the new business. A vote in favor is a vote to amend the agenda as stated. Pamela Davidson,
Yes.
Guy Loftman,
yes,
Dee Owens,
yes,
Margaret Clemens.
yes.
Okay, the motion carries 4-0.
Okay, there's no old business to cover tonight, and so we go directly to new business. Item number 1, VAR 23 33, Reynolds front yard setback variance to chapter 804 concerning 120 plus or minus acre parcel in Indian Creek Township, section 9 at 7706 South Mount Zion Road. Ms. Crecelius, if you would, review this case with us, I'd be grateful.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
So as you stated, the property is located in Indian Creek Township. So just for a quick visual assessment, this is the residence of the property and an area. The petitioner has proposed a detached garage that would be
I'm sorry,
located.
I don't hear you on the mic.
Is this any better?
Much better.
Yes.
The petitioner, this variance request is from the front yard setback. So the petitioner is proposing to build a detached garage with a reduced setback. So quick aerial view of the property. The dwelling is located in somewhat closer proximity to the property boundary, the eastern property boundary. Okay. There's one moment, the right slide is not showing. Oh, did it again. Okay, there we go. I moved a slide and it didn't catch up with me. All right, so a little bit of the background. So it's a front yard setback requirement. The detached garage is a 28 by 40 garage for personal use. So that's about 1,120 square feet. The property is zoned agricultural rural reserve, and the minimum required setback for the front yard is a little bit more unusual because the property does not contain any frontage to a county road or public right of way. So when that happens, the minimum required setback is measured, it's measured as 50 feet if no direct frontage on the road. So his eastern property boundary would be a 50-foot setback. That proposed garage would not be able to meet that 50 feet. The main access, I'm just gonna show here, he has an easement through the property off of South Mount Zion Road. So it runs along the eastern property boundary. So between his home, there's prepared concrete slab in anticipation of the detached garage. And then there's a 25-foot easement. So there are slopes on the property, but there are some areas that are considered buildable. So under 15% slope. Petitioner has included a letter to the Board of Zoning Appeals and a footprint of the proposed structure. And as of today, the building permit has been submitted for review of the Monroe County Building Department. Okay, so here is just a slightly outdated site plan. The petitioner has altered the original site plan. So it's actually 28 by 40. This site plan shows 30 by 40. So they're adding a little bit more space to the house. But the edge of the proposed garage will not be encroaching into that 25-foot setback. We really can't grant a variance into that easement. So the edge of the property boundary is gonna be those red circles or the red arrows on the right. Then there's a 25-foot easement. The existing driveway is smaller than that, so there is some wiggle room for maintenance and things like that. And then the new garage will be right on the edge of the 25-foot easement. So here's some pictures. The picture on the top left is of the existing residence's front yard. So there is a bit of slope to it. And on the bottom right is that prepared concrete slab that be used for the garage. So again, we can kind of see that existing driveway is smaller. It doesn't necessarily encompass that full 25 feet, but the 25 feet from the property boundary would be somewhat close to where that built retaining wall is. So the staff is recommending approval. The basis of approval is that although there are other locations that are buildable, they are located somewhat downhill and a distance from the existing dwelling. The petitioner has provided a statement that accessibility and even and level accessibility to the garage is required for the property owners. And this proposed location is the most suitable to be accessible to all people.
Okay, do members of the Board of Zoning Appeals have questions for staff?
I have a quick question.
Mhm.
Is that driveway, did I read that it's shared with someone else? That long driveway?
Yes, it is. There are a few different properties that derive access, so the image on the screen, that driveway, that yellow dots, they keep going north. So there's a neighbor to the north that uses that as well.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't know if Dee has, I can't tell if Dee has a question. I can
No,
never see.
Thank you. I do not, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, well, if the petitioner's representative is here, please come to the podium, sign in, and then I'll swear you in and you'll have 15 minutes to discuss with us your request if you would wish. You're not required to take 15 minutes, but you have up to 15 minutes.
Hello, thank you everybody for your time.
Could you please raise your right hand and do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
And could you please state your name?
Michael Reynolds.
Thank you, Mr. Reynolds. So please just review with us what your request.
I was wanting to request to have a garage built right next to my home, because my wife was in a really bad car wreck a few years ago. So I'm trying to make the accessibility really easy for her to get to her car, to be able to get to town and whatnot. If I try to build it anywhere further away from the house, the ground all slopes down and I'm afraid of her falling and getting hurt. So, and the one driveway that goes up past mine, that's just my brother's place. My brother lives right next to me.
Mhm.
So he's completely understandable with it and he doesn't care at all.
Okay, thank you. What our process now is that we ask for comments from the public, and if anybody speaks in opposition
Mhm.
to your proposal, then you'll have a chance to come back and, make more statements.
Okay,
Okay, so you can have a seat unless you have further comments.
that'd be it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Reynolds. Are there members of the public who would like to speak in favor of this petition, either here in the room, online, on Zoom, or on the telephone? If you're on Zoom, please raise your virtual hand. If you're on the telephone, press *9 to be recognized. No one? Okay, then we come back to the Board of Zoning Appeals and for further discussion and or a motion.
I think this is pretty clear cut. Yes. So I'd make a motion that in case VAR -23-33, the front setback, regarding chapter 804 on the property, off of Mount Zion Road, that we approve that.
I'll second that.
Okay,
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve VAR 23 33, which is the Reynolds front yard setback variance to chapter 804. A vote in favor is a vote to approve. Uh, 25-foot setback. Okay, so it's a vote to approve a 25-foot front setback. D Owens,
Yes.
Pamela Davidson,
Yes.
Margaret Clemens,
yes.
Guy Lockman.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries 4-0.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Reynolds. I hope you have enjoy the rest of this beautiful evening. So thank you.
And I'm sorry about your wife's car accident.
Yes,
I hope she gets better and better.
thank you. Okay, we move on now to case number CDU 23-3, the Wolfer Bed and Breakfast Conditional Use. And this involves 2.56 plus or minus acre parcels in Van Buren Township, section 12 at 3925 West Walnut Leaf Drive. And Ms. Griselius, we get to hear from you again. So if you would review this with us, I'd be grateful.
Absolutely, thank you. Okay, a little bit of background. So the petition site is currently a single-family residence and it's undergoing an interior remodel. It is a split-level home, so the remodel is going on the first floor and the basement floor. An ILP, an improvement location permit, and a residential building permit was issued in February of 2023. Chapter 801 does define a dwelling as one or more rooms, including a kitchen and a bathroom located within a building providing complete living facilities for one family or containing facilities and equipment for living, sleeping, cooking, and eating. The remodel of the basement does include a layout that is compatible with an additional dwelling. The petitioner is wanting to pursue a conditional use of a bed and breakfast. A bed and breakfast is defined as an operator occupied residence in which 4 or fewer guest rooms and breakfast are furnished to the public under a short-term lodging agreement. And just as a reminder, a short-term lodging agreement is rooms provided for a fee or rate for periods less than 30 days. So again, the property is located in Van Buren Township. It is zoned suburban or single family residential 3.5, so a smaller lot, single family residential zoning district. The comprehensive plan identifies this area as a mixed use area. The property is 2 parcels, but 1 lot of record, making up for a total of 0.56 acres in size. It is mainly slopes under 15%. There are some areas that were created for that split level you can see on the eastern side of the home, and then for drainage in between the neighboring property. So I'm just going to run through a few photos. So this is the home currently. This is looking back. This is looking south. So the petitioner is proposing that the main access for the bed and breakfast room of the dwelling would be the basement unit of the home. They're stating that they will be residing on the first floor, and the basement floor will be what would be available as a bed and breakfast under that short-term lodging agreement. So just a little bit of the backyard, and we can kind of see the neighbor to the west here. The slope is kind of higher on the west and kind of stair steps down as you go east. So looking south towards the backyard, and now we're starting to look east. We can kind of see that the neighbor, the adjacent neighbor that is a corner lot, is kind of sitting lower than the petition site. So the petitioner has provided a letter that does go through and provide information about, the bed and breakfast use. They also include a picture on the right that outlines those parking areas that might be needed. And then just a little bit, so these are the floor plans from the remodel permit. So on the top is the first floor, where the petitioner states they'll reside, and on the bottom is the basement. This would be the rental area. So on the right, there is a garage, a living room, a dining room, and a bedroom. There's also a bathroom. So under condition chapter 833 or 813, so any conditional use, we then reference chapter 813, and they provide standards for all conditional uses. So I've gone through on the next 3 slides and put in whether they meet these requirements or not. So A, generally that the conditional use request meets the standard. B, all conditions and regulations, development standards required in the ordinance shall be satisfied. So I do state that bed and breakfast is a conditional use in the RS 3.5 zone. It appears that the petitioner meets all the required conditions. I have asked additionally that the property owner, which is Mr. George Wolfer, state that the petitioner, which is a Mr. Jason Wolfer, confirm that he will be the operator and reside in the residence full time, and you can see that in Exhibit 4. So we do have that in writing. Number C is about the relation to the comprehensive plan. So the bed and breakfast is consistent with an area that's identified as being mixed use. So number D is looking more at utilities and electric. So this property is served by sewer. It has electric and water connections and is accessed from a local road, which is that West Walnut Leaf Drive. Number E is looking about any conditions or elements that could be dangerous, injurious, noxious. We have not been able to identify any standard or any performance standard that would be an issue with this. Number F is about, I'm just going to read this one in full. The conditional use shall be situated, orientated, and landscaped, including buffering, to produce a harmonious relationship of buildings and grounds with adjacent structures, properties, and uses. The petitioner has not provided or proposed any additional landscaping, screening, or buffering. So we have placed a condition on this. So the backyard entrance to the basement dwelling is visible to the directly adjacent property owners due to the orientation and the slope of the property. So a condition has been added to address the screening requirement on the west and east sides of the property. The property is adequately screened from the south by vegetation, and then there is currently an opaque fence surrounding a neighbor's pool to the east, but because they are lower, that screening is not as effective for the neighbors. From the public right of way, the home appears to just be a simple single family dwelling. So with added vegetation or screening on the east and west sides, we believe that this will ensure that the property owner can maintain screening and be more compatible with that sentence of adjacent structures, properties, and uses. And I'll detail that a little bit more in the condition. So to keep going, the conditional use shall produce a total visual impression environment which is consistent. Again, the use of a bed and breakfast would not really be visible from the road or the street. So we do believe this is consistent. The next condition H is about vehicular access. So the road is a local road and there seems to be adequate parking for a 3-bedroom first floor dwelling and a 1-bedroom basement dwelling. And then I is just any other permits that might be required. We did receive one remonstrance, which is listed under Exhibit 3. These are the neighbors that are located on the eastern side of the property. So the property owners that do have that fence already and the pool, they expressed concern that, the neighbors could, because of the terrain, the fence doesn't really screen much of their backyard. They were concerned about that. They were unable to attend tonight and they knew that. So we went ahead and wrote down their comments here on screen.
Okay, thank you.
Moving forward, Exhibit 4, I just wanted to include, that's where we discussed that the petition, the property owner states that the petitioner will be residing on the property, which is a requirement of the bed and breakfast conditional use. And now to the staff recommendation. So we do recommend approval of the conditional use for bed and breakfast from chapter 833 and 813 based on the ability to meet the conditions of the conditional use with the following condition: that the petitioner screen the eastern boundary for 58 feet and the western boundary for 70 feet per exhibit 5. That is my next photo, and I'll illustrate that here. So the rest of the condition goes on to say, the screening must meet the buffer yard type A requirement of chapter 830 to meet the screening requirement from the neighbors. Screening shall be either an opaque fence or evergreen trees from the approved plant list in chapter 830. So staff feels that this is a very good kind of middle ground of where the neighbors would be viewing their backyard without going above and beyond, noting that, you know, there are trees to the south of the property. We do think fencing, opaque fencing or landscaping would greatly enhance the compatibility between the different uses and adjacent property owners. So that is all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
Do members of the board have questions for staff?
It sounds like it's going to be one room on this rehabbed basement, correct? One rentable room instead of 4, which a bed and breakfast by our ordinance allows, 4 or fewer.
That is my understanding, but we do have, the floor plan does show a bedroom, a dining area, and a living room. You know, that dining area, I'm not totally sure. Let me show this again. Not totally confident where that kitchen area is. If the kitchen area is in the dining area, then yes, I definitely say it's comfortable. It's a 1-bedroom.
Right.
If that dining area doesn't include the kitchen, it could turn into a 2-bedroom.
Right, because our ordinance allows 4 or fewer,
Yes.
correct? Thank you.
And so this use variance would continue with the property should the property change hands?
The conditional use, yes, it would
Yes.
be allowed to continue.
Yes. Okay.
And-
Yes.
And if it was sold, the new owner would not be able to use this as a bed and breakfast unless they lived on the property. Is that right?
That is correct.
Yeah. So
So-
somebody, yeah, very good. Thank you.
Yeah, as long as all the standards are being met of the conditional use, it can continue on.
Okay.
But they must meet those standards. Any
Yes.
new owner must continue to meet the standards of residence. Thank you.
Okay. So we move now to the petitioner, the petitioner's representative. If you would kindly come to the podium and sign in, you'll have 15 minutes to make your case to us. And I'll swear you in after you sign in.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Mr. Wolfer, would you kindly raise your right hand? And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I swear to tell the truth and
Nothing but the
nothing
truth.
but the truth.
Yes, thank you so much. Okay, so please proceed to explain to us what you'd like to do.
Yeah, so Anne, thank you so much for putting that together. That was very detailed. So to address the question about the basement, that dining area, there's a kitchen there. So there's no room for extra bedroom to be placed there. And addressing the vegetation, I'm definitely happy to add vegetation. We already had a plan to add a privacy fence on the westerly side of the house, and additional vegetation on the easterly side of the house would be a really nice add. It would look good and definitely improve the privacy for the neighbor. And then our plan, our main goal for this is we're expecting a baby, so we wanted a private dwelling unit in the basement of our house for friends and family to attend. And additionally, we wanted to be able to rent it out when it's not being used for our friends and family. And so that's basically it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wolfer. Do members of the board have any questions for Mr. Wolfer?
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
You know, when I look at these definitions, and this may be more for staff than for Mr. Wolfer, but, well, no, I'll first ask you a question. It has its own kitchen, is that right?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
And will your guests be eating breakfast with you?
You know, that's up to them. If they get tired of us, I guess they can have their own breakfast.
But they will have breakfast offered in your portion, or either in their portion or yours. That's one of the services you'll provide.
Yeah, so there'll be food stored in the basement unit that they're free to attend to.
Okay,
Yep.
very good, thank you.
Okay,
Thank-
thank you. I can't see if Ms. Owens has any questions.
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Wolfer, what we'll do now is hear from the public, and if there is one statement that was already made in opposition.
Mhm.
Would you like to respond to that at this time, or?
About the privacy?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that with increased vegetation on that side of the driveway and landscaping, I can adequately create a privacy barrier that will provide a little bit of visual obstruction to the property. In addition to that, there will be landscaping throughout the yard, the back parcel, that will add some privacy as well. But I think with these things, it would increase the neighbor's comfort for the parking in the back of the house.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wolfer. And
It's good to be on good neighbors, terms with your neighbors, particularly when they have a pool,
Oh, yeah. That's right.
to try to make it work out.
Uh-huh.
okay, well, we'll turn now to the public and see if any members of the public would like to speak in favor of this petition. Please come to the podium, raise your virtual hand on Zoom, or press *9 to be recognized if you're calling in by telephone. Okay, and we see no one. If there is a member of the public who would like to speak in opposition to this petition, other than the one that we've already heard, please come to the podium, raise your virtual hand on Zoom, or press *9 on the telephone to be recognized. I don't see anyone. There are 4 attendees. Are there? That's okay. Those are just us. Okay. So, okay, we're gonna just vote on it. We'll discuss it among ourselves and
Okay.
then we'll vote.
Go sit down.
Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wolfer.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Okay, so back to our board and for any further discussion and or a motion.
It appears to me that this is meets the standards with the condition. So I move we grant conditional use 23-3-3 with the condition that landscape that screening as set forth by the staff be implemented. And this concerns the 0.56 acres on 3925 West Walnut Leaf Drive in Van Buren Township.
I'm gonna second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve CDU 23-3, the Wolfer Bed and Breakfast conditional use with the condition stated in the staff report that says the petitioners screen the eastern boundary for 58 feet and the western boundary for 70 feet per Exhibit 5. Screening must meet the buffer yard type A requirement of Chapter 830 to meet the screening requirement from the neighbors. Screening shall be either an opaque fence or evergreen trees from the approved plant list in Chapter 830. A vote in favor is a vote to approve the conditional use with that condition. Pamela Davidson,
Yes.
Margaret Clemens.
Yes.
Guy Lockman,
Yes.
D Owens.
Yes.
Okay, the motion is approved 4-0.
Thank you, Mr. Wolfer. Thank you. Have a good evening and good luck with all of the changes coming to your life. Yeah, it is exciting. Take care. Bye-bye. Okay, so we move now to administrative business. And so Dave, if you would guide us through the discussion of the two items under administrative business, I'd be most grateful.
And the one item I'm aware of is the findings.
Yes?
I didn't know that, if you're interested in talking about the rule change at this time, that we can do that. There's no rush on either of these two items at this point,
Yes.
for this reason. One, the attorney that has been assigned to our case by our insurance carrier, Matt Clark, has filed a notice with the trial court to remove this to federal court. So the trial court has no jurisdiction of the matter at this time. And so I don't believe we're not under the same pressure to get our record completed. And that's why I think the minutes being addressed in October will not be a problem. And so you could put the minutes off till then, or the findings off to then as well, if you want additional time to think about it. But you could do it if you think that they're accurately reflect your decision, you could adopt those tonight.
My real question is, wouldn't you be more comfortable if all 5 of us were here instead of 4 of us? For that consideration of the findings of fact?
That's up to you. If they're approved by a majority of the board, they are the findings of the board, whether it's 3-2 or 5-0, it doesn't make any difference. They still have the same legal significance.
What do you think about that, Margaret? And what do you think?
I'm wrapping my brain around the version of this findings of fact, and if this is the original version or the one, after that paragraph 3 email I sent you.
That's up to you. This is the original version. And if you would like to change those, that's up to you.
Could you scroll down just because it's okay. What do you feel?
I really think because of the import of this, I'd be more comfortable with Skip being here. Or at least weighing in on it, because he was here for these votes, and I kind of think that sounds more unified to me. Particularly, you're right, there is no time crunch with it, with a petition to move to federal court. You are so right.
My question is, we have appointed counsel who's going to be managing this case directly. Are they familiar with the proposal?
I have sent those to Matt, and I haven't heard back from him. If you want to give him time to weigh in on that.
I would like to have appointed counsel weigh in before we make a decision on actually either of the items.
Yes.
That we're either the findings of fact or the amendment of Article 8 of our rules. Because, I think since either of these items might have an impact on the case, that I don't want to act without him.
Yeah, there's certainly no rush on the proposed rule change, because I just put that together because we discussed that recently. So that isn't something I put on or presented you to have action done tonight.
And we know Skip has comments on that. It's all the more reason to hear Mr. Adams.
I would point out that I'm not personally concerned about the impact on the past. or litigation, you never know when somebody's going to appeal.
That's right.
Or gonna move for an appeal, and having the rules in place before somebody files an appeal is better than saying, oh, we've got an appeal, let's adopt a rule.
Yeah, but I think that the changes are consistent with the previous version. It's just maybe a little more clear,
I do too.
Yeah.
but not that much more clear.
I think the changes are mainly procedural and not substantive. The standard is still the same.
Yes,
So,
yes.
But I think we can take our chances until we have time
I
that
agree.
somebody else will appeal, because I would like Skip to be here when
I would.
we make the consideration
Yeah.
and council to weigh in on
Yeah.
these concerns.
well, yeah, and of course you approved the two petitions tonight, so there will be no appeal on
Yeah,
that,
that's right.
likely.
That's
So,
right.
I appreciate, Dave, your thoughtfulness on all this.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
You do good service in helping us make good choices. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
that, Dave.
Well, this is a beautiful evening, and not to
Yes.
cut anybody short.
Yes.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I
Motion to
move we
adjourn.
adjourn.
I would note that the planning staff was 2 for 2 tonight.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye. Oh my God, you should see it.